Yeah. We're going to stay in the Atlas room just for a little bit. Thank you guys for coming out to Cobra TV. And we're going to have our normal Friday subcast, but we're going to go ahead and get the intro played here real quick. And then we'll be right back in just a few seconds. Let's go to my Twitter. I do not have anything ready. Let's see. Where is my button? Oh, that's the wrong button. Here we go.
You have tuned into Cobra TV, the only galactic radio station in the Euclid galaxy. This is a subcast. Join our Discord and wait in the room called Atlas 102.5 FM to be raptured. If you can't come on the show, leave Cobra's SpeakPipe message. The link is below. We are sorry, no guests allowed tonight. Cobra is not trapped in the simulation with you. You are trapped in the simulation with Cobra. Join our cult. The Cult of the Atlas. The link is below. This is a subcast, and now, your host, Cobra.
No Jack tonight!
As I said before, guys, thank you so much for coming back to Cobra TV. We've got the Geeky Pikachu, who I'm not going to go ahead and count as first Snow Obsidian, because you knew when I was going live. It's a little bit of cheatery right there. So let's go with Jack. Jack was first in the chat. Sorry, Snow. Then we got Black Belt Boyd coming in. And then we got Slow the Arc. Adikua. What's up, buddy? Then we got Sandrian Vilmer. Plays trombone. What's going on, guys? We got I don't have anything on the screen. Show the screen. There we go. Guys, what is going on? This is the Friday night subcast. We're going to be talking a little bit about No Man's Sky tonight. It's not going to be a big show. It's not going to be probably not even a long show unless you guys call in. Tonight, Stubborn Ninja has suggested that we stay in the Atlas room. So no waiting to get on the show tonight, guys. If you want to jump right onto the show, you could just immediately jump right in and get on the show. No waiting for me to notice that you're in the Atlas room and pull you into the subcast room. So if you want to jump right in, by all means, please do so. But we're going to be talking about No Man's Sky tonight and VR. Stubborn Ninja is on the show tonight to talk about what he's done with No Man's Sky and has got it working in VR, and he's got a lot to say about it and a lot to say about the potential for VR. So, Stubborn Ninja, how you doing?
How's it going, Cobra? I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing very good. And as always, guys, we got Snow Obsidian in the chat. Snow, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good, my friend. Doing good. Glad to be here again.
Oh, man, it's glad to have you guys on the show tonight. So, No Man's Sky in VR, as you guys know, it was on the roadmap, is what I call it. It was kind of like a survey of what's more important for you to see added to the game next, and we've seen some of those things come to light in a small way, but VR was definitely one of the things that people could have chose on that survey that we all took, and I really didn't get much thought. But Stubborn Ninja, he had messaged me saying, Cobra, I got it working in VR. So, Stubborn Ninja, tell me what's going on, man. What did you do? What did you do to No Man's Sky?
So, I plugged in, and if you didn't know, you could do this. You can plug in your PlayStation VR into your PC. It takes some little trickery and a couple of settings and things like that to do, but you can get your PC hooked up to your PlayStation VR hooked up to your PC. And your PSVR, you can hook that up to your PC? Yes, so what I'm doing is basically emulating an HTC Vive, which is, you know what I mean, the other PC VR headsets. And with a little bit of software trickery. And then on top of that, I'm using a program called Vorpex, and it basically allows my head to do mouse movements.
Okay.
In the game. So basically, I'm running No Man's Sky in VR just like that. You know what I mean? It's hard to explain. I don't know quite how to explain it, how I did it, but I can link to tutorials I followed and things like that so you guys can do. I wouldn't recommend doing it just because of how much just how much trouble it is if you've got like an HTC Vive or an Oculus Rift, I would kind of say go ahead and try it. But if you're going straight from a PSVR and you got a PC, I don't know, dude. I don't know that I want to go through that whole process of trying to get all this, because it was a lot of jerry-rigging. I had to put a lot of... I had to buy a couple of things, because like I had to buy a Xbox Kinect. And I had to buy that. Ultimately, I didn't need it, but still, you know what I mean? I just had to buy all these little things, and it was really difficult.
Okay,
but, dude,
and then you also had to get the emulators and stuff like that for it to work.
Yeah,
and,
the emulator Vortex costs a little bit, so I mean...
So, out of most No Man's Sky fans, we've only dreamed of what it would be like to be in VR and on some of these worlds and in space and stuff like that. And the cockpit, it's a dream of mine. And you've been there. So tell me, what is it like in VR the way that you've done it?
Dude, all I'm doing is I'm strapping a screen to my face, but it literally feels like I am there. If I could go any further, I would literally buy this special chair. Dude, it feels amazing to be looking out of your cockpit into space. Like you're literally there.
So you're sitting in the ship and you're flying. You're using the controller to fly, and you can literally turn your head and look out the side of the cockpit?
Well, no. See, that's the problem, is that when you PC NMS, I don't know if you know this, but they don't support looking around the cockpit, sadly. Oh. So when I try and do that, I can't really look around the cockpit. I move the ship, which really stinks. But you know what? When they officially support it, you'll be able to look around the cockpit. But I mean, it's just still amazing to be there in that cockpit. Yeah. You know what I mean? And
no doubt. Especially when you're on the planet and you just look down at the ground, or you can look up at the sky. How cool is that?
Yeah, it's just amazing. I saw a picture on Reddit. I really want to try this now. Find a system where there's a black hole in the sky. You know what I mean? That you can see from a planet surface, dude. That's just.
What is it like with the VR and you walk up to one of these large animals and you have to literally look your head up to see that, their face way up there? I mean, does it satisfy like a VR experience?
Does it have scale almost?
Yeah.
I guess that's what you're asking. Man, it kind of does, because, and I only say it kind of does because it's not officially a VR title. When HG takes this in, I'm sure they're already working on this and making the scale right, like they did with Next, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, the scale is there, and it feels amazing to be, and it's just because I'm sitting in a chair. You know what I mean? When you're standing, I imagine it would be so much more immersive. But dude, the scale is sort of there.
Okay, so one of the biggest things that people are like, well, No Man's Sky as it is right now can't run in VR because it has to be 120 frames per second, 60 per eye. So obviously it's not that you're playing, correct? It's nowhere near that.
I got 90. I got 90 per eye, but I do have a relatively beefy system. My PC sits about in the specs of an Xbox One X, in between a One X and a PS4 Pro. Now, I sent out a tweet to Peaceful Gamer and all that. I'm trying to work my PC specs down to what is ultimately just like a PS4, a base PS4, right? Because most of the player base is on a base PS4. And if HD is going to try and do this, they're going to want to hit that thing. They're going to want to hit the demographic of where the largest player base is playing right now, right?
Right.
So it's really tough to get that performance down and not lose too much clarity, because you gotta drop the view distance. And right now, dude, I think it's possible. I think they can do it with the tweaks, because I almost have it. I almost have 60 per eye,
right.
And that is close. If you could get 90 per eye, it would feel amazing. But if they can get a stable, let me clarify this, because No Man's Sky is not the most stable game in terms of frame rate. You'll get these frame dips when you go to bases. And that's where I kind of get scared for them when they go in for the technical side of this. But dude, if they could do that, No Man's Sky has literally just become, you know what I mean? That it literally has one more hook to get into you.
Yes.
And for you to keep playing.
So interesting, man. So you actually going through this and playing it. How often do you play it like this? Do you find yourself getting motion sickness?
No. So that's the thing is I'd like to consider myself, even though I haven't spent the money, I am very deep into VR. I'm looking into buying more expensive headsets and all that, but I'm a VR veteran. I got PlayStation VR near when it launched back early 2017, so just a few months after it launched. And I've been playing a lot ever since. I don't hardly ever get motion sickness from VR anymore. And it's just, you know what I mean, building yourself up.
Yeah.
So
I do want to say hi real quick to Black Belt Boyd in the chat. So I think he's trying to get my attention, and he well deserves my attention. And Black Belt, how you doing, buddy? Nice to see you here, man.
So that is my brother. I'm sorry, I should have clarified.
That's your brother.
I guess.
Hi,
yeah,
Black Belt.
He probably wants a shout out. He's very attention seeking. I don't know why he does that, but oh well.
No, it's okay. It's all right. Vilmer's also in the chat. We got Lynx. Lynx is also making that really awesome game. Catch up with me, Lynx. I'd like to know your progress on the game that you're making. Also, another thing. You guys know the X4 franchise?
Not familiar.
They just came out.
I do.
Yeah, then they just came out with the game called X4 Foundations.
I'm not sure. I've been off of that for I don't know how long. Tried it. Now I'm very interested in it.
It's a really big space game. Black Belt Boyd knows it. So X4 Foundations is the newest installment in the franchise, and we'll get right back to No Man's Sky in a second. But I have nailed down an interview with the developers for X4 Foundation, so we're going to be having them on the show. Thank you so much for the donation. Who was that?
That would be me.
Oh, that was you, Snow Obsidian. Thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate that.
More on the way, my friend.
So we're going to be interviewing. Thank you, man. I appreciate that, bud. The developers for X4 very soon. It's awesome. They reached out and wanted to have an interview for X4 Foundations, and some of you guys in the chat been asking me to talk about the game, and I didn't know a whole lot about X4, and so we're going to be having them on the show here. So just wanted to talk about that. But No Man's Sky in VR, I want it. I got a beast PC. It runs games at ultra high settings, and no matter how high I kick it up, it still runs it. So the only thing I'm lacking is VR. It says that this thing is VR ready. So I might be jumping in on what you're doing there, Stubborn Ninja.
Yeah, VR headsets are pretty cheap. I wouldn't say. Shut up, Ephraim. I'm sorry.
Guys, go check out Black Belt Boyd and see if he's got some good content. Go check him out. If you're watching this live, watch it. You could check him out now, or you could, if you're watching it after it's been uploaded, you can check it out then. But the live chat's gonna always be there.
Yeah. Okay. My mind's blank. Yeah. So, your PC, I'm sure it can handle it. VR, I would say go with an Oculus because they're the cheapest right now. They're $350, which isn't cheap, but you know what I mean? It's the cheapest option to get into VR. And while you're there, you can also look into playing some other VR games while we wait for official support. And just, you know what I mean? Just trying all this stuff. It's a wonderful place to be. You know what I mean? VR is just incredible, dude. You won't regret your purchase.
I don't think I will. I really don't. I mean, I don't think I will regret it. We got Vargul just joining us. Vargul, what's up, buddy?
Hey, not much. What's going on, Cobra?
Nothing much. We're talking about Stubborn Ninja getting No Man's Sky to work in VR. How cool is that?
No, I think that's badass.
Yeah.
I think that's. I don't have a VR myself, but had I invested the money, and I'm not as, I guess you could say, technical as being able to program or figure things out like that. But if it came to PlayStation, then absolutely, I'd be all over that.
Oh no, I don't think they would bring VR if they couldn't bring it to PlayStation, which I see it happening though. You know what I mean?
agree with you. Yeah.
There's no point into bringing VR exclusively. I mean, I just don't see any point. You know what I mean? Because their largest install base is PlayStation. So if they can't get it running on PlayStation 4, and that's a lot of why you know what I mean, why it's taking so long to get VR running, is they're bringing, because Next brought a lot of stability. Atlas, you know what I mean, Atlas Rises and Next both brought a lot of stability, and they're just trying to work that way up to getting the high frame rates for VR. You know what I mean? They're just building a platform for that. Because, you know what I mean, 1.0 was never going to be able to do something like that because of how unstable it was. It's not even funny how unstable that is.
Yeah. I miss 1.0 though, or the launch version. I really miss it. You know, it's just, I don't know what it is. The game obviously does look better now, but there was a certain charm to it, and I don't think it's nostalgia. There was a certain charm to the way the planets were before the land vehicles were introduced. I think the land formations were much more crazier, more alien, because back then you didn't need to have flat surfaces to drive around on. So I remember being on this planet that was like, it just had like these weird land formations to where there were like these canyons all over the place, and it was all purple grass, and you could go down in these canyons so far. There was no way anywhere on this planet that you could take a Nomad or anything. It was just a complete mess for a land vehicle, and I miss those things. And I know why Hello Games changed it, but I think that there should, you know, it's the universe, it's crazy, so maybe there should be those planets that just are impossible to take a land vehicle on. And that's just the facts of life, you know. Just, oh well, I can't drive my Nomad on here.
So, Cobra, do you think that since we've gotten the vehicles, the reason why we don't is there had to been certain sacrifices? I think the code that he uses to implement procedural generation for terrain has to be universal across the entire game, right? Or do you think that there's a way for him to change the code to where certain planets can be generated in such a way to where we can still get the alien formations?
No, because you know, he can make certain planets be 90% water, and like, you know, we find planets that are, you know, they got little bitty islands here and there, and he can make some that are completely impassable.
Well, and we also have to think about what Rayrod has done. I don't know. By the way, I don't even know where Rayrod is right now, dude. I think he's kind of hibernating right now. He might be working on the next big overhaul, you know what I mean? But you see, he has no cares as far as I was aware of when I was playing his mod, when he was just creating his procedural generation engine for the game. You know what I mean? You could go drive the stuff, but it was just, some of this terrain was insane. So
he's around. He's still working, and he's part of the secret chat that I don't belong to. So he's around.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, he's still working. But I was actually supposed to have him come on the show last week, and I completely forgot, and he forgot. So we're going to get him back on the show so we could talk about what's been going on, because a lot of people are asking about him, and that's what I told him. Like, man, people think you dropped off the face of the earth or went into a black hole or something. We need to get you back on the show. And he wanted to come back on, but we both just completely forgot because we scheduled it and didn't write it down and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and me and you, Stubborn Ninja, we were talking about the update, and you said this was like the shortest time waiting for an update, but we're the most anxious for an update.
Well, just because we don't have anything to go off of. Does that make sense? I mean, yeah, it makes sense, but we have zero things to go off of. This is the second shortest time because, you know what I mean, between Abyss and Visions, but whatever. I count those as almost one single update just because of how small they both were.
Mm-hmm. You know, I think I see what you're saying, because I remember when the game launched and everybody hated it, and they were trying to get me to call them liars. They were trying to force me to say the game was shit, and they were saying, I'll unsub if you don't say they're liars. And I'm like, go ahead and unsub, because they're not, and I can prove it to you that they're not. You know, just chill out and wait. They're going to update the game. And when Foundations came, I remember I was at work and I saw the notifications going crazy, and it felt like I was holding my breath for all those months, and I was finally able to breathe. I went, right? And I was like, see, I told you guys to wait. I told you. and I was so happy. I was so relieved that there was an update to the game. It really changed a lot about the game at the time. And this reminds me kind of that time, because back then we had no clues, except here's the crazy part about that is a week before, and I've said this before, a week before the game launched, there was already a video sitting on
They
YouTube
talked about base building and vehicles. Yeah,
and submarines. Yes,
remember.
it was the whole roadmap of everything that we got all the way up to Next. Before, it didn't mention anything from Next except for the submarines. But all that stuff, we already knew what they were going to add to the game, but we didn't know the video was sitting on YouTube. But anyways, this is kind of like then, where we're waiting for an update, and it feels like I can't breathe because I come on to do a live show for No Man's Sky to talk about how excited we are, and it doesn't seem like anybody's excited, and it's completely understandable. But it's like we have no breadcrumbs. We have nothing. People are making these speculation videos, and it's like, well, wait a minute. That's not a speculation video. That's a wish video, a wish list video. It's the way we don't have any breadcrumbs to speculate from, except for the data mine files, which we've talked about for... we talked about like 50, 60 times on here about the data mine files. And so it's getting harder and harder and harder to do a live show, to be excited about what's coming next, because this is just like from launch to Foundations. It feels the same way. Oh, except for all the hatred.
Yeah. Two things. Vietnam flashbacks, because now that you mentioned that, this really does feel like one of the most desperate times in the community. Like, we're at a chokehold right now. Content, we're choking. And then two, you prove my point when you say submarines were a part of Next, because they weren't. They were a part of Abyss. And to me, Abyss and Visions, and I mean no hate for Abyss and Visions. I know that a lot of people will not like me for this comment, but I feel like Abyss and Visions were almost so small just because of how much trickling we were getting after Next. They felt like sub-updates, even though they were probably about the size of Foundation or Pathfinder. You know what I mean? It just did not feel like anything, in my opinion.
Like anything substantial?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think I see what you mean. It's not like Atlas Rises or Next level. But yeah, and it was odd how quick they were together. Abyss and then Visions. We were like, whoa, wait, already? And
we were already getting community events before them too.
Right. And the community event's over. It's been over, and they're quiet, super quiet, but they are, they are still active on Hello Games Twitter. Retweeting
with the Millennium Falcon and everything like that. Yeah.
Right.
That was awesome.
Yes, it sure
was.
Yeah,
that was.
And that's part of the problem with not having the Waking Titan ARG. And I know we've mentioned it before, but I mean, having the ARG allowed YouTubers to build content for their channel while we waited for the update to come out. And I actually voted for the ARG just because I liked listening to what was going on, and it revealed clues about upcoming updates.
Right.
So I do miss the ARG. I didn't really participate a whole lot in it. I mean, I followed it and I did some of the Twitch stuff that came on, but outside of that, I just listened and I really enjoyed it, and it was exciting.
It sure was.
I wish they would bring that back.
I do too, and I voted no for the ARG question. I've said that here before, and I wish I could go back in time and vote, not vote, but answer yes on that survey that I would like another ARG. But I have a feeling that most of the community said no to that question on the survey.
Hence why we're getting a long wait.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and that's why we're waiting for the next update, and it kind of feels like it's just desperate times. It's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Why are they so quiet? And I tell you what, their quietness has taught us a lesson in the past. Their quietness leads to greatness You know, if they're not willing to say anything or talk, you better know they're working on something big that they don't want to spoil or mess up with broken promises or be accused of, oh, that's a lie, it's not going to be in the game. So their quietness tells me that what they're working on something big. Now, the next question is, are we waiting now for an August update instead?
I can't wait until August. I'm already going to say that. I can't. No. Unless they're doing one of two things. They're going to drop a mini update for us to hold us over, or they're going to reveal the Waking Titan Season 3. And you know what? I fully regret not voting for that Waking Titan, and I fully regret not participating in either of the two seasons.
Yeah.
And if it comes back, I will participate, because as much as I hated it at the time, I really appreciate Waking Titan more and more. I realize it. It's just...
I second that. Yeah.
Well, and this is, in retrospect, right, this is good. This is, looking at it from a different perspective, this is good for the community, because the next time Sean Murray or Hello Games comes out with something like this, it'll make us pause and think about the decisions we make moving forward when we're answering surveys or questions that he posts on Twitter.
Yeah.
My concern right now is the community events, because typically he had this planned out where we were going to do, I think, 8 community events, and they pretty much hit back to back. As one ended, a few days passed, another one would start, and we would always have something constantly to work on while we waited for big updates to come out. But this last community event lasted a full month, and now we don't.
Month and a half, in fact.
Was it a month and a half?
30 days plus the extra 15 for the buffer.
Oh, okay. So, and now we have nothing, right? There has been no new community event. So, I feel that either A, we're not going to see anything until the anniversary update, or if we do get another update, it's not going to be an update between now and the anniversary. It's just going to be another community event. But I think the reason why he hasn't is because he's more than likely, with the new update, changing how the community events are going to be played out.
Yeah.
That's
One
true.
should basically lead into another. That's how I think it should go.
I think the community events, more than anything, are probably, and this is really getting into speculation territory, how a very small part, No Man's Sky played a very, very small part into Waking Titan Season 2. I don't remember, we had an in-game little bit, right? You know, it was that planet. We went to a combo on one weird planet far away, right?
And the first season?
Is it Season 1 or Season 2? It was a combo in either one of the seasons. Well,
Season 1, there was the comm station. And Season 2, we went around looking for some person's brother. I can't remember. Travis's brother or something like that.
We had the portal jump.
I'm just talking specifically in the game. You know what I mean? I think a lot of this, because as much as the fun as the augmented parts, in real life parts are, I think we'll see a lot more in-game events, so we can have get a lot more of the community into solving these mysteries for Season 3. Does that make sense? I think that they'll be working a lot more in the games to do these kinds of things.
Very true. Very true. Now, I did reach out to Allison Smith and ask them if I could interview them. They were happy to want to do an interview, but they said they needed to check with Hello Games first. That kind of told me that there might not be an ARG in the future if they're willing to come on and talk to me, Blabbermouth, who can't keep his mouth shut for anything.
Well, it could, Cobra, it could be that, or it could be just the fact of what they're willing to release in the form of information versus what they have to remain quiet about.
That's true.
Because if whether or not Hello Games is planning to release another ARG in the near foreseen future, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's not going to ever release another ARG. And so because they work with Allison and Smith, they probably want to get their ducks in a row before coming onto an interview and just start chit-chatting about whatever.
You know, Vilmer in the chat says that he worries that they've given up on the community events and frequent updates. I kind of worry that maybe they have given up on the community events temporarily, because I don't think that the community events did really well last time. I think they actually helped push it along, in my opinion. And then they had to extend it as well.
The 15-day buffer, yeah.
Yeah, and so here's, like, if it was them, if I was them, I would use the community events to give clues to next updates. It would create hype with the community. We would be hyped for these community events to play through them, to kind of get little breadcrumbs and clues to what they're planning to add to the game. That's actually, what I think, huh?
I think they did, because remember what happened with, let's say, the anomalous planets. We had to go to the breach, those giant stations with the ring. We had to go to that station, those stations, and find the right answer to this riddle or whatever it was, and in order to find this person.
Yeah, we had to realign those.
That might be our key factor. If we can remember what happened way back when the first, second, or even third community events were about, if we can remember what happened back then, we might get some clues as to the next update. But then again, this is all speculation.
Yeah, I don't think they were thinking that far ahead with the community events. They should.
You never know. It's Sean Murray.
2.0, they're going to have to play all their cards on the table, because I really thought Next would keep us have a stable community, and that shows even throughout the droughts. I thought we would have a self-sustaining community throughout these droughts. We don't yet, because just how the game is built, I guess, for other people, how people view the game. 2.0, they're going to have to play all their cards on the table, because I'm telling you, dude, 3 years working on a game like this, plus whatever they worked on before the release, 5+ years, they have to be wearing out, dude. This is just, it's incredible for how long they've been going. They got to be getting close.
Yeah, and I hate to be a broken record player. I say this every time I come on this show. Faction building with real consequences, combat, and points of interest with loot reward systems, man. That would drive enough action into the game for people to sustain themselves for a while.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sound like a madman for saying this, but we can already do that in the game with multiplayer, and it's just that we don't have the community to build something like that. Does that make sense? We could easily do something like that with the multiplayer we have right now. It's just that we don't have the player base or the people that are gonna sit there and create factions. You know what I mean? And it's just it's a huge universe anyway. So I mean, even getting to those faction areas, it's gonna be a lot better for Hello Games to implement that, even though we could do it. It makes sense because
okay.
You can, I mean,
so I agree with that to a degree, but I'm like, you know, if you align your faction with the Gek, then there's no consequences with the Korvax or the Viking, right? If you align your and that goes across the board with any other faction. Plus the combat, the way you use your multi-tool in weapon form, it's not real clean feeling. You know, it's kind of messy. But the game wasn't designed for that in the beginning. You know, the multi-tool was originally designed to resource and harvest, but it became something else, right? There's no real strong points of interest. You know, we don't have a floating scrapyard of ships out in space. We don't have ancient, real ancient ruins for us to tour or explore. I mean, there are these couple of structures that sit above ground. There's no dungeon delving, you know, and then there's no real strong, heavy enemy threat. You know, we deal with the Sentinels, but once we've established ourselves, they're not real
Sentinels
challenging.
or nothing. Yeah, I saw a meme on the. I'm just gonna bring up this meme I saw on Reddit. It was a Sentinel pictured over, I don't remember the first Kung Fu Panda enemy, but anyway, he says, finally a worthy opponent, our battle will be legendary, and it was a Sentinel, regular drone, and it was just the drone plastered over the enemy's face, the dude's face.
Yeah, but they become that once you like, you know, like you said, once you get like upgraded and get yourself established, the Sentinels are about as dangerous as an incoming storm.
Yeah, it's just two grenades to the face.
Yeah.
Dead.
So and if you think about it, right, you start figuring out points of interest like, ancient temples, where aliens would, or species would go to worship, or, you talk about abandoned manufacturing facilities, and then not just with one or two rooms. We're talking large scale facilities for you to explore that have been abandoned, or the space stations that are abandoned and are floating out in space with no life except for these alien eggs. I mean, they were onto something there, but they need to expand on that. And then, periodically you'll come across, large scale. We're talking like, threat level 5 Sentinel, large scale enemy threat with, but it takes you a while to either kill it by yourself or work with a group of friends to take it down. And then there be some kind of a loot reward system afterwards, depending on the system that you're in and what you get. And make your loot diversive, based on, again, the system that you're in. Your faction may align with Korvax. You may be exploring Gek territory, and you may defeat a boss inside one of these empty temples or these ancient temples, and it drops Gek schematics for tech or whatnot. And that's not going to work for you because your faction sides with Korvax. So all your technology that you build is going to work around Korvax. Real consequences to faction, making you make decisions in the game that keep you engaged.
But see, if they do something like that, I want them to take their time and do it. I don't care how long we have to wait for an update. And the reason why I say that is because one of the cool things that were added is whispering eggs. When you get the eggs and all of a sudden those weird creatures come out and try and kill you, right? That's cool.
Yeah, the biological.
Except they're everywhere. They're in everybody's game on multiple planets that we go to. And if they're going to do boss battles, they're going to have to utilize their own system to procedurally generate different bosses. So that way we're not all fighting the same bosses guarding the same eggs.
Right.
They got to take their time with this. I don't mind waiting for updates, but you just, hey guys, we're working on something really cool for you. Hope we can share it soon. Sean.
So I sitting here and listen. Go ahead, Snow. That's a big thought I have. Go ahead.
Okay. I was just gonna say, remember that one tweet from Sean Murray? He was saying something like, "Swoon, we've been nominated for this game award." Swoon. SWOON. I think that's a typo. Soon. Something is coming soon. I hope I'm right though.
Tag me on that on Twitter.
Sure.
If you can find it. I don't know how old it was.
I remember reading that.
Yeah, I remember
it was from Sean Murray's Twitter itself. It was like, let's see here, that was like, scroll down a little bit.
Not too long ago, like a week ago.
4 days ago.
Yeah.
And I'm still last week's gosh dang it, what do you call it? Subcast. Thank you subcast. Last week's subcast was awesome, man. Hashtag bring back the first spawn. That was freaking cool. What a bitchin' idea.
Yeah, I agree.
And
that's something I was trying to do with that first donation.
Yeah, that is so much what we need in the game. I mean, we really, really do.
So, sitting here listening to all this speculation, I want to ask you guys a question. Since we're all speculating on what's coming to the game next, what, coming from all these different points, multiplayer, procedural adventures, this chill experience game, what is Sean's philosophy throughout game design philosophy, and what is Hello Games team game philosophy? Because they're listening to all our ideas, but what it was their core and what is now their core philosophy, you know what I mean? Because that could be the core thing to cracking a lot of the ideas as to what we have in the speculation, what we could be seeing for 2.0 in the anniversary update.
Well, okay. Saying that if it hasn't changed from before, and I wouldn't call this speculating, it's just pretty much wish listing. We're saying what we want. I wish we
Oh,
had
yeah.
something to speculate off of. I really do, but we don't. But, you know, they wanted you to feel like you were in this universe and you were alone. And when they mean alone, they don't mean other aliens. They mean that you're not around other players, that you're alone, that you're the
This is
first.
your own.
You're the first
This is your own
controller or
adventure.
mouse and keyboard to get there. That's what they mean. And so they wanted exploration, walking and discovering things. So I think, and I don't know if there's some kind of limitation. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. Before the game came out, I watched, and I tried looking for this interview, but there was an interview with one of the developers for Hello Games. He was one of the lesser known people, and he was an artist, and he was talking about skeletal structure of these of the fauna, right? And somebody at the end asked him questions. So how many models are you basing this off of? You know, how many models can be choosing? He goes, they'll kill me if I say this, but a couple dozen. And I went, what? As far as variation, I was like, what? I can't believe it's only a couple of dozen. And so that really shocked me because we've seen the pictures of the different aliens and fauna and stuff like that we've seen all that, but they had reduced it down for a reason, and I don't know what that reason is. But as far as updates and as far as what Hello Games wants, they want us to go out and they want us to explore. They want us to be shocked and awed at the beauty of this universe. And I think what they want more than anything else is to make there be more variation. That's what I think that they want, because for some reason or another, they had to scale back. And I don't know why.
Right.
Well, my guess is resource management. You know, consoles and like we talked a little bit about this based on base building. You know, because I like to build on an epic scale. You know, when I play Minecraft, I'm always on, you know, an infinite map because I don't want to be restricted. But you can't do that in this game because, or at least on console, because of the amount of resources that it uses to generate those structures. You know, those are hard generated graphics, and if they have, let's say they don't have a dozen, you know, let's say they have 100 or a couple hundred, well then they're going to have to sacrifice graphics or resources somewhere else, because at some point you're going to reach a point where it's going to lag your system. It just won't load. It'll crash. You know,
yeah.
And I'm thinking that's why they did it, because originally, if I'm not mistaken, this launched on PlayStation 4 first before it launched on PC.
Right.
I think
3
PC
days.
was
3
yeah,
days.
it was a few days out.
It launched
but
on Damien first, but then it came to PS4.
Yeah, right. So, you know, and that's my guess, and maybe through the ability to optimize the game, we've been able to get a little more variation. Maybe he's generating these graphics in a different way, different file format. I mean, like, again, I don't know. I'm not a programmer. I'm not sure how that stuff works. But the game has changed considerably. And when he first went through that interview before initial launch, you know, and he had all these questions thrown at him, you know, is the game going to have this? Is the game going to have that? Can you do this? Can you do that? You know, he said, you know, at launch, the game is going to feel large and you will feel alone. And the game will be that way for the time being. Maybe later on down the road, it'll be something else.
Right. I remember that.
You know? And I think when he first launched the game, like I said, I think we weren't playing a game. I think we were experiencing art.
Exactly. Yeah.
In the video game world. Now we're starting to come into different game mechanics, and we're playing something different than what we originally played in the very beginning, with land vehicles, customization, different types of weapons, new resources, you know, farming, base building. These are all new game mechanics that have been slowly implemented into the game, which, and that's probably the whole purpose behind the roadmap and the survey that everybody took.
I think that it's my belief, High Artifacts of Exile, how you doing, buddy? That they're focusing too much on the negativity, and they tried to make it into a game, right? Instead of adding the much needed variation that should be in No Man's Sky.
No, here's what happened, and I'll tell you why I think this way. They weren't expecting to get the backlash. They had the plans, like we've always said. They had the plans to add base building, and they had the plans to already make vehicles.
That is true. You are right.
It wasn't until after Atlas Rises, because I think they had Atlas Rises planned as well. They had a roadmap of the first year at least. It wasn't until really next, and really after next, because we haven't seen as much as I would think we would have variation changes. We did see a lot of variation changes in next, but not as many as people would like, and that's because they had this roadmap planned, because they already thought that this game would be fine. You know what I mean? People got themselves too excited when Sean certainly should have clarified, I think. But I mean, they had this plan thinking that it would be just fine. I don't know why they added. Really, I have to scratch my head the more and more I think about it. Why did they add bases and vehicles if we couldn't experience them between people? You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm just trying to think through all of this. It's really making me wrap my head around a lot of this stuff.
Well, I still think, by far and large, even though we do have now true multiplayer integrated into the game, I still think it's a first-person game or a single-player game. I really do, and I bet you, I'm guessing, I don't know, but I'm willing to bet that if you took some kind of a survey and you asked everybody that ever played this game, do you play multiplayer, do you play alone? I bet you there's more people that play solo than they do.
Definitely.
I'm one of the guys that wanted multiplayer a lot, right? But a lot of the times I'll play on a different name just so I can be alone. And I turn off everything so I don't Yes. Because
you know what? Here's something.
When I go on my name, people love to join my game. I'm never alone. Ever.
You want to be alone, Cobra, and you just want to experience No Man's Sky. I did this several months ago when I finally got back into No Man's Sky after Visions. Turn off everything except for the music and the ambient sound of the planet, and just walk around in first person and just have your headphones up. And just experience the music playing and the ambient sound and everything. And turn off your heads-up display in the game, and just, you know what I mean, just listen to the music and everything. It is amazing, dude. It is almost. It's as close to the
complete opposite. I like to turn off the music and just listen to the game, like the sounds, the wind, the ground crunching beneath my feet. I usually have the music turned off, but I get what you're saying. The music is beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, it just feels like you're there. It's the closest thing you get to VR, dude. Even when you have the music off, you know what I mean? Just having the ambient sound and just walking around, you're just transported to that world.
Yeah, totally agree. So, 2.0. I mean, this isn't speculation, but guesses. I think we're going to see a lot of variation get added. I also think this is the year that Hello Games is going to announce something new, and I'm not talking about Last Campfire. I think
because Last Campfire is a side project for like 2 people on the team, I think, is what I understood.
Right. I think we're going to figure out what they're working on next, and I can't wait to cover it. I don't care if it's a sports game. I'm going to cover it. I'm not going to enjoy covering sports, but I will enjoy covering these amazing artists making a game.
Yeah.
But
so, Cobra, did I miss something? I mean, is this next update supposed to be 2.0? I mean,
no.
Or are we still going through 1.8, 1.9?
We
probably not
believe
going to hit.
They've skipped before a little bit. But
technically they didn't, because we were so close to 1.4. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, true. But I don't know. I mean, I think 2.0 is going to be this year. I think it's going to be August.
Excuse me.
I don't think.
I have no doubt.
Yeah. They've done something huge every anniversary so far.
This is, I'm going to already say this now. Like you said, they're going to be moving on to another project. This is their last, they're going to throw all the cards on the table for this major update. This is going to be their last title update, I think, for a long time.
Oh, you just gave shivers down my back, man. Like, throw everything at the game. Like, guys, this is it. Let's put everything in there that we wanted to put in there because we got to start cracking down on our other project. Wink, wink.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you. I'm telling you, this is going to happen. They're going to play all their cards on there. I'm telling you, dude, that there's just no way. I'm going to go all out and say Switch version. As crazy as I am, I'm going to say a Switch version. I'm going to say VR support. I'm going to go ahead and say terrain variation, full multiplayer changes, a multiplayer overhaul to what we have now. Everything, dude. I'm going to go crazy, and I don't care if it's below those expectations. I'm still going to be excited for what they bring.
Yeah, true. So, Dave Langer says the August update will probably be 2.0, but the next update will be 1.6, 1.7, and 1.8. If we think about that real quick for a second. I really do feel like August is going to be 2.0. But if we think about going from 1.6, 1.7 to 1.8, maybe.
We're already at 1.77, so...
Yeah, it'd be 1.8, 1.9, and then we'd hit 2.0. There'd be two small minor updates before we received 2.0.
Remember, we were at 1.38, and then we went to 1.5. I think we'll maybe see a 1.9 update if they do if they want to do a title update. They'll do a 1.9. They won't bother with the whole, you know what I mean?
Bug updates, bug fixes, 1.9.
Oh Lord, yeah, just have the
or
bug fixes.
Or we might not see 1.8, 1.9. It very well be that whatever content they were going to release for 1.8 and 1.9, they might just release it in 2.0 and call it good.
Yeah,
that's what I think they should do. I think they should do that, and then I also think they should just do a small ARG. You know what I mean? And just get us hyped for what we have.
They should,
because I think they're going. Literally, I do think they're going to not drop another content update until 2.0 in August, and they'll put all their cards on the table no matter what that is. It may not be a Switch port, it may not be VR support, though I highly doubt they won't do VR support. But you know what I mean? They're just going to play a lot of 2.0. I remember the hype around staying up all night for 1.3 and then staying up all night for 1.5. Dude, it's just they're gonna do something huge, even bigger than those twos. I would say, and I hate to do this because I don't want to get people too hyped because we got such a long time to wait. It's going to be bigger than all the updates combined.
I agree.
Fingers crossed.
Hey, Cobra.
Yeah.
I want to ask you something, man. And if anybody in the chat has any information on it, that'd be cool. I mean, I'd love to hear some perspectives. But 505 Games is supposed to be their publisher, correct?
For Xbox.
Oh, only. Well, still, they're still their publisher for Xbox, regardless of what system it's on. Because if it releases on Xbox, it's going to release on PC. It's going to release on PS4. So what? My question is that I follow 505 Games on Twitter, and I always see them posting stuff about, Walking Dead, Overkill, or, Portal Knight. Very rarely do I ever see them say anything about No Man's Sky. And I don't know why that is. They'll talk about all the other games that they support and that they're publishing, but they won't. I think within the last couple of weeks, I saw one post from them on No Man's Sky, and it was a fan art, and that was it.
It's quite possibly because maybe we're not the only ones Hello Games is being silent to.
I believe they did retweet the content updates whenever HD dropped that content updates. I do believe they retweeted those. So they haven't been completely radio and silent on No Man's Sky, but that's besides the point.
Well, you think they would be? You think they would be at least advertising or letting people know? We're so excited about a future update coming out soon. We don't have a precise date yet, but know that Hello Games is working on it. Or something. You know?
That would probably be HG themselves to say something like that, in my opinion.
Well, it shouldn't be, though, because that's what they pay 505 Games for, right? They're the publishers. That's like their agent, kind of. Like, if you're writing a book, you're not going to go out and advertise it yourself. Your publisher is.
Oh, that's true. Alan Poe, thank you so much for donating to the Super Chat. Says, can't afford to give too much, but I'm always here to support you, Cobra. Give all you can to support our buddy Cobra. Thank you, buddy. I do appreciate that, Alan. Hashtag Alan Ponacek, guys. Thank you. Wow, what is that?
That's awesome.
The cuckoo clock. It went off at 6 when we started the stream.
Oh, wow. You're in the past. It's 7 o'clock over here.
Yeah, I'm at 7. I just did 7.
Oh, you just said 7. Oh, okay.
You said it's
when we started.
Off. Yeah, when it started at 6 o'clock.
Alan Poe in the chat says, I'm absolutely desperate for a huge swath of new creature or creature parts, and please massively improve the variety for regular planets. I agree. That's what the game needs. I don't want to see how to further update something. I don't want to see how to, upgrade this or upgrade that. I want to see variety added to the game.
So what I see is there's 2 different camps right now in the community, what's left of it anyway, because it's really a dust bowl right now with so little to no content. We're going to see both. We're going to see a lot of variation and these ideas for factions and all of this, you know what I mean, in-game stuff. But we're also going to see where the community can really do this, because eventually, whether it be a year or 2 years from now, we see all of that content. You know what I mean? We get bored of all that content, and then the community comes in and we start creating our own content. Does that make sense? So they're going to give us the tools for us to make all these things that we want and all these quests and ancient ruins and make these stories that we want. I think we'll see both of those things with 2.0. Personally.
Oh man, that would be great. You know, like we've said that before here, like create your own like creatures, like with sliders and mixing DNA together and stuff like that. And populating, seeding those onto a planet, so that way when someone does come by, they're literally seeing a creation by somebody else. Give the power to the players to create the variation. So I think that's a good idea. We've also talked about campaign makers too, to where we can create our own stories within No Man's Sky, with tools that they could give us by using the NPCs, by using text, and create our own stories and then publish it to some kind of like a leaderboard or some kind of community to where people can play through your campaign and learn about your lore or story that you're trying to tell. I think that would be amazing. Things like that, I think, would allow this game to go on for a very long time without updates.
I think that's a very streamlined way of doing it. I think they're going to streamline it in another way, not so much the list, you know what I mean, of campaigns and everything. They'll streamline it in communities that you can go to. We can create, just like they talked about what was the word they used? A colony. So we can have colonies that people can go to, like in a list. You know what I mean? Or factions, player-made factions that people can go to, and they can go do the campaigns of the factions to earn reputation. And they'll go in those ways. You know what I mean? And we could do that right now if we really wanted to, but it's not that streamlined to do things like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But they got to do something to streamline this system to where the player base can sustain themselves.
Yeah. Well, how many of the items on the roadmap have they checked off? Is it only 2?
Well, we've been checking them off. They haven't really been, like, I've been kind of guessing.
Oh gosh, what was that? Oh,
I've been kind of guessing what they've been adding based on abyss, more ocean variation, visions, more planet variation, and stuff like that. So I've been kind of crossing stuff like that off myself. But I really don't want to say Visions was the more planet variation, because Visions was amazing, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't a rock star. I've been kind of guessing.
Oh, what was that? Someone needs to get muted, I think. That is a lot of background noise.
Josiah, I muted you for a second, bud. I'll unmute you here in a minute, but there's a lot of background noise, bud. I'll unmute you here soon. But, yeah, oceans, I think there was only 2, right? The more oceans and more, but, using visions to base on crossing more planet variation off, I want to uncross that, really. But it was geared towards that.
It was, and I mean, and for us to view the roadmap in that way is, I mean, it's not like we're just making stuff up. Those are perceived from a very accurate perspective. I mean, if I had to single those updates out, that's the way I would do it. I would say, go right down the line. But I guess the reason why I'm asking, if we only received 1, and you can't really do it, but if you receive like 2 or 3, you could kind of get an idea about their approach and maybe a pattern on the roadmap, as to maybe kind of getting an educated guess of what they're going to attack next. As far as that roadmap goes, because it's a process of elimination. Well, they've already done variation, or they've already done underwater exploration. What would be the next target for them in the next update? Yeah. But I mean, we don't know, because if we're gonna say that Visions wasn't necessarily a strong approach to planet variation, well, then we've really only got 1 item on the roadmap that we can consider complete.
Right.
If they've put all these things on the roadmap, I think they're all things that are possible. And this is going back just a little bit into VR discussion. I'm not sure if we want to go back there, but if they put VR back onto the checklist, I believe they did, or not the checklist. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's on there.
I'm pretty sure it's possible for them to pull that off. I'm pretty sure they already know that it's going to be possible, and like you said, it's a checklist. I think it's going to happen inevitably. You know what I mean?
I do too.
I think it's not an impossibility at all that they can get a stable frame rate running on PlayStation VR. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they saw how much craziness happened when they were doing Where inside the last Waking Titan, right? Everybody thought VR was getting added to next, right? Because Where sounded like it. It really did. And for them to put VR on that checklist, on that survey, that's a little bit dangerous, don't you think, for Hello Games? I mean, they wouldn't put that on there if they didn't want people starting rumors.
It got headlines, too. All that. It was very dangerous for them to put that into there. And they got headlines. Remember, a lot of news sites covered that and said that HD is considering VR.
Yeah, I remember that.
After, you know what I mean, Where and everything went through.
Yeah.
And they said that. I mean, and also I'd like to come back and study Where a little bit more. That concept is very interesting, and I wonder if there's anything in real life that is similar to that idea.
That'd be nice.
Like to study that.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a very interesting concept. I know there's a lot of bad things. The Waking Titan thing, but it's still an interesting concept. And I think it's probably the future of VR, to be honest with you.
Oh, we have another donation from Snow Obsidian. Thank you, Snow. Thank you, buddy.
You're welcome. Don't forget to check out what it's put in there as well.
I can't. There's something wrong with the text. It's like super large when it's donated.
Okay.
So what did it say?
I'm itching to kill someone in the Galactic Thunderdome.
Huh? What'd you say?
I'm itching to kill someone in the Galactic Thunderdome.
If the NSA just heard that, he's talking about a video game. All right. He doesn't really want to kill somebody.
1 second, guys.
You imagine the NSA has to filter out gaming talk when people start saying words like bombs and blow up the building and things like that. NSA probably freaks out like, oh, they're talking about Call of Duty. Oh, Alan Poe with another donation. Thank you so much, Alan Poe. Hashtag that Cobra in the chat and Snow Obsidian as well, the Geeky Pikachu. Alan says, I wish I could join you to chat, but got a cold unless you want to hear me hacking up my insides. Ooh. I'm staying in chat. LOL. Got the cold from little sister. Oh.
Man,
Well,
that stinks.
Sorry to hear that, buddy. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that's rough.
Cobra.
So-
It's going around, my friend. It's going around.
Let me see if I get the list up here. If I can find it.
Anyway, guys,
go ahead,
I
Vogel.
am going to bounce for a little bit, but I am possibly going to be back if the show doesn't end before I come back. Gonna give me some food.
Okay, buddy. All right.
Catch you guys later, temporarily.
All right.
See you, man.
See ya.
Hey, so
Later.
I know we've talked about this until it's just dead in the dirt, right? But I kind of want to bring up the data mine stuff again. I tend to be a little over analytical when it comes to things, and I'm pretty obsessive about stuff like that. But do you think anywhere within the data mine stuff that had been released is prevalent to what the roadmap shows?
Okay, well, we do know eating was one of those. A lot of food. I mean, they put in a lot of work to eating and cooking and refining food and stuff like that. And I don't see that ever making it into the game, so I don't understand where their thought train was on that. So that's a little confusing. The other one was building stuff for your base for on planets. So turrets for your base, some solar panels, a lot of power generation for your base. So a lot of very space engineer type stuff. So it doesn't more base building depth. I would say D. If we were going to get a small update like Abyss or Visions, I would say D's next, based on some of those things that were data mined for the base building.
Okay, so when I don't have it in front of me, what was letter D?
D was more base building depth.
More space building depth. Okay.
Yeah, and turrets. We talked about that a couple months ago, where turrets for your bases were data mined, and we're like, well, why would we need to shoot anything? Why would an auto turret need to be on our base? What is it shooting at?
So can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Let me see if I can find a picture while you talk, and I'll see if I can locate a picture of some of that stuff.
So if we look at turrets, if we look at more efficient ways to generate power to our bases, if we're looking at base defense, right? Mm-hmm. That kind of I don't, maybe I'm just that passionate about it, but that goes back to combat. I mean, it really does. It means that they're kind of addressing combat or different forms of combat, which also leads me to believe that if you're going to mount turrets outside of PvP, if you're going to have turrets, then that's going to lead me to believe that there's going to be more threat implemented into the game, whether it's directly toward you or your base. I'm sitting here while I'm on the phone with you right now playing Fallout 76. You build a base on Fallout 76, and your base is open for attack to all the wildlife and threat that's in the world. Mm-hmm. They can destroy walls and break down doors and damage your generators and destroy your water purifiers. If that's implemented into the game, then that adds a whole new dynamic to gameplay. And that falls right in line with combat.
Yeah, it does. And let me go ahead and talk about some of those right now. This feels like a dead horse, but it's the only thing we got to go on. But let's see, buildable arc wood, buildable arc window. These are for bases. Buildable floor wood, buildable ramp. Another buildable ramp with wood. Buildable vehicle garage. Buildable wall diag, or whatever that means. Another one for wall. Here's the interesting ones. These are under utility: battery, conduit, distributor, fence, pump, solar panel, terminal, turret, and wind turbine. And there's like 3 or 4 different. There's 3 different turrets too.
Right, right.
Wind turbine. A lot of these have to do with power generation and defense.
Well, and so vehicle garage. Now we have the vehicle spawn equipment where you can throw down the big pods and you can spawn your vehicle. But if you have a garage bay to park your vehicle in, maybe, again, just speculation, it is possible that when you're using your vehicle and it takes damage, it's not just a matter of refueling it, but maybe you have to bring it back to your garage and you have to make modifications or repairs to it.
True.
Because, an enemy can attack your vehicle while you're in it. I've had it happen to me, but your vehicle doesn't take damage. You do.
That's true. Yeah.
So, maybe they're changing the way that kind of gameplay is played out. It might be that your vehicle takes durability loss when it gets attacked, and you have to repair it, which would require, more resources or different types of resources, and it would also require maybe you to power your base too, so your garage would have power applied to it. I don't know. I'm just trying to think it all out.
It's all very good points, and based on these data mine files, more base building depth does seem like that would be their next direction, but then you also have the food and stuff like that that's also data mined and more extensive than this, by the way.
So was there anything on the roadmap for survival?
No. Quality of life improvements. Here, I'll read them to you. Polish of existing features. Replace orbs with full character models. I guess that means outside of the 4. So when you're on a planet and there's more than 4 people that are in your party, anyone who's not in your party is going to be an orb.
The 16 party limit has stayed from Atlas Rises.
Right, exactly. Quality of life improvements, more base building depth, stranger, more varied planets, more depth and variety in NPCs, which is one I'm very excited about, larger multiplayer lobbies, VR support, enhancement to underwater exploration, and then it had a place for other that you could pick and write whatever you wanted to write.
Okay. So quality of life changes. If they implemented food, I don't know that I would necessarily make the comment that it would be a quality of life change, but it would definitely polish it and add more complexity to the game. And here's what I'm thinking. And I'm just going to compare, like I said, I'm playing Fallout 76 right now, so I'm going to compare it to that. In Fallout 76, you have a health pool, right? And currently we do too. But we apply was it plutonium? Oxygen for air, plutonium for health. I can't remember. Anyway, we apply the resource to build your health back up. All right.
Right.
But we don't have a hunger, and we don't have a thirst meter.
Well, we kind of do. Our life support is just like hunger. It goes down because we move, and we replenish it when it gets down too low. The life support. A lot of people are like, I don't want a hunger bar, but we actually have one already in the game. And it goes down, and you have to eat to replenish it, and
they've just
the life
cleverly hidden it. Yeah, they've just cleverly hidden it.
Okay,
exactly.
so here's the thing: if they implemented a combat update, right, you're not going to get hungry in combat. You'll get hungry because you've neglected to eat. Right, you lose health when you're in combat, and in Fallout 76 they have a health meter, but they also have a food and hunger meter too. Right? So while you're out traveling the planets and you're walking around, your food degrades a little bit and your thirst degrades a little bit, and you have to eat and drink. Right? Your health pool doesn't go down, just your food and your thirst meter does. But if you're in combat, now you have to worry about your health. So they could implement a little more complexity to the game by adding a food and thirst meter. If that's what the food is intended for, I don't know. It sounded like that's initially what those files were intended for, but they didn't use them. And I don't know how old those files are either. I mean, I don't know if there was every time that you update or make tweaks to a specific file and resave it, it updates the last date that it was modified in the directory. So
I think
don't
they
know
found it right after next. I think that's when people data mined the food files.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, I don't know what's coming next, man. But if they wait too much longer, they're running out of time for to step up to 2.0. The more time they don't do anything, the more of a chance we're going to have to just automatically jump to 2.0 in August.
Well, and my other worry too is that they've worked so hard in polishing the game and bringing it to where it is right now. And when Next launched, oh my goodness, Steam lit up and they had such a huge player base. It was almost like they were recuperating some of their loss. But now if I go on Twitch or whatnot to look at views, there may be 60 to 100 people viewing at any given time.
Yeah, it's not even funny.
And I would hate for all that hard work to just kind of die out, peter out, and go away. It's like extinguishing that flame. And that's got to be discouraging for Hello Games. It's got to take a lot of wind out of their sails.
True. Trying to find the food files, but I can't find them.
See,
go ahead.
I'm really thinking about this way too much. I have to wonder why we have so many planets, and this is because No Man's Sky is the vision of just going to these worlds and exploring these worlds. It was just an exploration game, as far as I understand, before launch. You know what I mean? After the launch. Post-launch, it became our game, right? And they made our game. But we have to realize that at the base of this game, it's an exploration game, and it can't be all of these things at once. It has to stay. They have to rebuild it if they want to do absolutely everything. We want this game to become the game that we will play forever. You know what I mean? This game that we don't have to go to any other game, right? That's ultimately where we failed as a community, is because we expected this game to be the game to end all games, right? That's what the whole claim to fame was with all the planets. And that's really what killed the game at the start, and what really is killing the game right now, is because we have the mentality that we can do anything in this game. And that's just, you know what I mean? It's just not really what the original game was supposed to be.
Oh, very
well,
true.
and a lot of it's a rinse and repeat. It becomes that after a while. But I guess my question is Hello Games building a game that the community wants, or are they building the game they want?
I really think they're building the game that the community wants, because Sean has been, and at the same time, does Sean want this game? You know what I mean? Is Sean a part of the community, or is Sean a developer? And that's a really big question I have, because I can't even solve that. You know what I mean? I can't figure that out, because we know almost nothing about Sean. He never comes out. I wish he would become like this Elon Musk kind of character celebrity, even though a lot of people hate him still. You know what I mean? I wish he would just be on Twitter more and interacting with us more, rather than retweeting all the time. You know what I mean? Is this the game he envisioned right before launch and that he wanted to make, or is this just something else entirely? You know what I mean? That we wanted.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I've got the food files on here, and I want to kind of go over them because they're really extensive. So somebody put in a lot of work to this, and we've said it before. It's like it's a lot to just scrap. It's a lot to just throw away. But we've got raw ingredient, edible product, fish eggs, salty fingers, flyer milk, meaty wings, monster eggs, fiendish roe, sticky honey, awful sack, geck milk. Ooh, God. Proto sausage, giant egg, Diplo chunks, grease, meat, leopard fruit, feline liver, tall eggs, Strider sausage, fresh milk, raw steak, crab apple, leg meat, creature egg, meaty chunks, wild milk, impulse beans, pilgrim berry, fireberry, solar tillo, solar tillo, frozen tubers, glass grains, jade peas, non-toxic mushroom, grawberry, severt beans, aloe fresh, cactus nectar, hexaberry, heptaploid wheat, sweet root, pulpy roots, marrow flesh, kelp rice, wild yeast, meat flakes, silicon egg, and nutrient processor, which it says the file name for nutrient processor says oven name. So that's just like the refiners that we have, but this one seems to be for food.
Question on those on those files, do they have a file extension? Are they like an IMG file, like image file?
No, there's no MG. Like some of these, I got them on screen here. I don't know if you can see it, but it says food_ingredient_sub raw ingredient. It's kind of like that.
Okay, so we don't know if this is an image file. We don't know if this is a text file. We don't know if this is a directory. Well, it's got to be a directory. It's got all these files built into them. I guess what I'm saying is that if it was an image file, it would be a little more substantial than it would be if it was just a text file. If it was just a text file, like a README file, then chances are somebody built that when they were brainstorming on, what they were going to implement as far as survival aspects to the game, and then there would be no work really lost at all. But if it was an image file where they actually made either a 2D or a 3D image of the graphic, or whether it was just they're designing the inventory card that goes into your inventory, well, now we're talking about a little more work involved into it. And yes, it would be a lot to throw away. And chances are they probably would.
These are pathway files, I believe. So I think it's something that's already been coded, but just not activated. So real quick, I'm falling behind here. I want to say thank you to Alan Poe for another donation, saying if they do food, I'm going to open up a McGeck franchise. And he just did another one. I'm not eating there. He just donated another, saying he did it again. Oh man, I hope you didn't donate twice just because you didn't think I didn't see it. Oh man, I'm sorry, buddy. And BioGaming, I think that was the name, just subscribed, and I wanted to say thank you to BioGaming. But
if he opens a McGeck franchise, I'm saying right now, hashtag pink slime.
Ew, Geck milk. Oh, yuck. But these, I think they're pathways. I think these are similar to the same files that you already see that do activate certain stuff. So I think that these were coded and they were worked on, but they just not activated inside the game. So I think there's been work done to this. And if not, think about all the thought process behind this. Glass grains, jade bees, grawberry, Geck milk, giant egg, photo sausage. There's been a lot of discussion around a table of people saying, come on, guys, let's think of some food. What kind of food can we have? A lot of discussion, at least discussion, had to have taken place to come up with these names.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If they're going to polish aspects of the game that are already in place, then I'd be on the fence about survival, because I mean it seems like a pretty strong survival game at its core. I mean, it really does. Does it need food and drink? That's debatable. Would it be cool if they had it? I wouldn't mind. It's just another mechanic in the game to keep me engaged. It's just more content, a little more complex. Some people might like that. Some people might not. I don't know. It'd be interesting. It would definitely, people who like to farm for money, it would give them a stronger purpose to implement even more farming mechanics, right? Because now they can grow their own food or whatnot. And it would be really cool, especially the stuff that requires meat, for you to go out and capture, live fauna and bring it back and then, breed it. So you have this protein. That would be cool.
I'm gonna be honest with you right now. I don't like eating in video games. It usually turns me away from even playing a game if there's eating. But we're already doing it in No Man's Sky with the life support. I would be okay with this if it replaced the life support. I don't need like two different life bars to have to worry about.
Right. Well, and what other games do? Again, go back to Fallout 76. I've been playing a lot of that. If you haven't noticed, what they've done is certain foods give you certain boosts to certain stats at different times. So, like I don't know, you eat a sweet roll or something, and it gives you +2 attribute points to your agility. Hello Games could do something like that if they wanted to with the eating and drinking. So you're not just doing it to keep your meter full, but you're also doing it for bonuses as well. Some of the bonuses in the game that I'm playing only last a few minutes. Some of them last for a total of 1 hour of gameplay and before they wear off. So if you were cooking and eating and you stop off at your base because you want to boost in a certain attribute, then you could. Maybe you could breathe longer underwater. You could run faster for a longer duration of time, or I don't know, you can jump higher. I'm just throwing stuff out there. Maybe your accuracy is tighter when you're firing your weapon, or maybe you're more focused so you can gather more resources from a resource node than what you normally can.
Like one of those foods, I can't remember what it was called, but it sounded like it would give you more energy or something. I can't remember the exact name of it. Alan Poe, thank you so much for the another donation, dude. God, thank you, buddy. Said food collected and sold in bulk maybe? Sounds fun. He's got a point. What if it's not for us to eat, but for us to trade with the NPCs? Something else to sell.
Or utilized in quests and stuff like that, yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool too.
That's a good point, Alan. Very good point. But and then Ivy Mike in the chat saying, "But life support is oxygen." Yeah, yeah, it's oxygen, but it kind of also feels like a hunger bar too. So like, it's one of the I don't know. It's too many. I don't want to eat in the game unless it's a replacement of the oxygen. Like I know that doesn't make any sense. I just hate eating in games.
Because unless you're on a paradise planet where your oxygen level is sustainable, you're constantly feeding that bar on any other given planet. You are. Right. It doesn't matter if it's a cold planet, a hot planet, a toxic planet, radiated. It doesn't matter. Unless you're on a paradise planet, you're constantly feeding that bar. And I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea that you could sell the food in bulk as, for currency, or maybe utilized in quests, or it would be just cool too. I think if when consumed, it would give you boost to certain abilities, in the game,
That, yeah, I do think that's one of the things. Also, this could be for a number of different reasons. It could be like Alan Poe's, maybe just to sell to NPCs, but maybe this could actually tie in with more depths to NPCs on that checklist, because maybe, maybe it's trading with them, selling to them, having something to barter with them with, like walking up to a Gek and saying, "Hey, I got some Gek milk for you. You got those coordinates I want." Or it may be more depth to NPCs mean we're going to finally get more depths to cities as well. I don't want to say cities like big cities like Corsican or anything like Corsican or anything like that, but maybe you could walk into a restaurant. Maybe there's Gek there. Maybe this is stuff that you could just order to eat, just so that way it makes you feel like, hey, I'm at this place. I can order some Gek milk and drink it.
To touch a little bit on NPCs, right? More NPC depth. And again, I'm just going to go back to factions, because I think building upon factions, and I think it's just as important for players to have the option to be part of an evil faction as it is to be part of a good faction. That way it adds diversity to the game. But, if you think about all the different... So we have, we got 4 species in the game?
Yeah.
Something like that. But each species has, subspecies. So, not all the Gek look the same.
Right.
There's a lot of diversity within the Gek. There's a lot of diversity within the Vy'keen. Korvax is a little hard to tell, because they have different armor and different helmets, but definitely with the Gek and the Viking, right? Well, what if those different looks, are a part of a sub faction? Like different groups or communities within their own race. So, we talk about the Gek having sympathizers, right? Because of the lore. Well, what if certain Gek that look a certain way belong to that sympathizer faction?
That's a good point.
If that faction was implemented, then you could start building faction with that sympathizer group, knowing that if you did that, you would be ruining your faction with Viking and Korvax. And you might even be ruining your faction with the regular, the new Gek.
Yeah, I do like that idea. That's an amazing idea. Yeah, you start doing stuff for the wrong Gek, and the main Geks will be like, hey, we're dropping your standards with this here, buddy. You're slipping because you're hanging out with the wrong Gek. I like that. I like that. Alan Poe just donated again, saying problem is if they make like apple trees in the game, find a lush planet, and you got countless trees to collect it, and it's damn easy money. Yeah, I can see something like that, using it for trade and not for us to eat. And maybe the ovens are for us to cook it, because maybe the Viking don't want the raw meat. Maybe you got to cook it for them. Who knows? But yeah, I do like that, Curtis. I like that.
Yeah, I just sometimes I go back and look at some of the MMO. People say, well, I want to play a sandbox game, I don't want to play. Well, but if you play Skyrim, if you play Fallout, even the solo plays, I'm sorry, you're playing a poor man's MMO. That's what I call it, because you're not playing with everybody else, but it is a huge, massive open world sandbox RPG, and I think No Man's Sky isn't necessarily becoming that, but there are small amounts of that being implemented into the game through these updates. So you're getting a little bit of that flavor. You know what I mean?
Oh, I agree.
And I think with those options available, it would not only make the game more diverse, it would engage players. It would give them choices and options with real consequences to how they're playing the game. It would give them, more immersion into the game, and make them feel more like they're doing critical stuff in the world that is making a difference on how their gameplay is being altered or changed. Number two is that it's going to open up more possibilities for Hello Games. I've seen it time and time again where developers will build a game, or even if you're watching a series on TV, where the authors, the writers, the developers of the game or the series kind of write themselves into a corner, and they don't know where to go with it. It becomes dull. It becomes boring, and they're kind of cornered and have no way out. And by doing this, they can change and alter and improve upon the story, especially if they bring back the first spawn. And with Polo altering the timeline, right?
Right.
I think that would be just epic, and it would open up a lot of possibilities for Hello Games to expand the world of No Man.
Yeah, I want that to happen so bad. You guys have no idea, and it makes me sad that maybe Hello Games just won't ever hear it. I tweeted it at them, but I don't think enough people did tweet "Bring back the first spawn."
Dude, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure they watched the subcast. I'm pretty sure they knew.
I hope so. We got a funny comment here from Carlos saying, "I'm still wondering, how would one harvest Gek milk?"
Dude,
that would
somebody would have to breed. Somebody would have to breed Gek and go out there every morning and milk them.
Remember the sub Gek from the trailers, the pre-release trailers. that we saw roaming around, we see them still in game, right? I call them, they're like roaming creatures. They're not sentient.
Yeah, either that or remember the Star Wars Luke Skywalker milking the creature scene?
Oh, Lord, don't even bring up Last Jedi right now.
We got another donation from Alan Poe. Another one. You crazy Cobra, you. It says, one of the foods was called meaty chunks. Coincidentally, that's my stripper. Oh, gosh. I knew I didn't want to finish reading this. It says, I'm a bit fat, so it fits. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
I swear. So, Cobra, going off the wish list train here a little bit and talking about all these things and how these things will work, I wanted to ask you about something. This is something I was going to ask you privately, but I figured the community like to hear this. What if we start doing on Friday nights, and I know you want to just kind of stopping this, but what if we start meeting up and meet up at a planet called the Subcast Planet every Friday night and just hang out?
You know, that's a good idea. I like that idea. And
I have. So can I expand on that?
Yeah.
Okay. So we know that Hello Games retweets a lot, right? And when we also know that they view fan art and screenshots, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well, in the game, we have comm balls. And I think that we should use those comm balls, take screenshots, hashtag bring back the first spawn. Hashtag.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
More content or more focus on combat. Hashtag more focus on variation. Hashtag please bring No Man's Sky to VR. And take those screenshots. Take those screenshots, post them on Twitter to see if they get any response.
That's a good idea.
I don't know how you feel about this. What if we just go ahead and hop on No Man's Sky right now?
Oh, we're about to end the show here in probably about 15 minutes. I usually don't like 2 hours is probably the cap time. But no, I think, all right, I was going to kind of stop doing the Friday night subcast until, more hype got, rallied up and stuff like that.
Let's make the hype, dude.
We gotta make the hype, yes. That's what I've been trying to do for you, Cobra, for a long time.
I'm a little selfish, Cobra, but I look forward to your subcast every Friday. If I don't get on in voice chat, I'm definitely lurking.
Oh, thank you, buddy. Appreciate that.
Exactly.
So yeah, let's plan that for next Friday. Let's find a planet. Somebody find a really cool planet. And
I commissioned Snow Obsidian to do that.
I agree. Snow Obsidian, you are hereby
told.
Commissioned.
There you go. That's the word I was looking for. Find us a really cool planet and make us a place. Make us a base.
Make it, and this is another idea for the base, make it very simple so that every week we could have someone add just a little bit to it from the call every week. You know what I mean? Just something very small.
Yeah, I'm getting things here right now. In fact, so I'm visualizing things right now as I speak. So it's very trippy how I do that.
You know what?
I can do that.
What about if we built a place on the planet that's in the Cult of the Atlas?
Let's do it.
Actually, wait, are you saying everyone builds a base?
Well, everyone can if they want to. There's a lot of people with bases on the Cult of the Atlas, but I think it's a ghost town at this point because, for one, I haven't been back to that planet because I've been off elsewhere. But
Meredith, a dance floor. You know what, Meredith? We tried that with the Convergence. Didn't work out very well, but I think that's an idea. I'm getting an idea right now. Convergence 2.0.
You know what?
We need a dance floor. That's a good idea.
Look, this is very far off, and this is just an idea, but we need to build a conference center. I don't know what the word is. A convention center. That's it. An in-game convention center for Convergence 2.0. When 2019, when that time comes around and we start working on NMS Convergence 2.0.
Yeah, we're going to need it. And we definitely need to be on the Galactic Atlas.com. You know, we're not on there in any shape or form for the Cobra community or Cult of the Atlas or anything. So we need to start screaming a little loud and get on there, I think.
Yeah.
Snow, let me hop on with you. I want to work on the Convergence Center when we get there. You know what I mean? I worked on the first one, so let me know when you're ready to start working on that.
Oh, I can start right now, my friend.
I don't know if you guys are planning on doing the comm balls and taking screenshots, but just a suggestion.
It's an interesting idea, yeah.
If that's something that you guys are wanting to do, I would just recommend having a designated location for that. That way it keeps the rest of the playable area kind of clear, and then whoever wants to go and take screenshots or put up a comm ball, they can. That way, because like a lot of times when you would see those community events, and I thought it was cool when you jumped through a portal and you popped out on the other side, and there was like
flooded with comm balls.
A million with comm balls, but I mean,
so
you don't want your base to look like that.
Let's do this then. Let's make the moon of whatever. I don't remember what the system is that we're going to build it on, the convergence system. You know what I mean? Your system, Cobra. But we use a moon or another planet that we're not building on. We just turn that into the Comball moon or the Comball planet. You know what I mean?
That's a good idea.
There's just one problem with the base building idea. Only one base can be visible at one point in time.
To a party. Remember,
Exactly.
this is only a party. If you join another party, then they can do it. But it's only visible to 4 people.
Yeah.
So-
Oh my gosh, I'm a genius. Yes, you're right. If I host this convergence thing, or one of us hosts it, we can have multiple people in the same planet but different instances, and have the exact same model of the this convention center fully visible, as long as I'm in that. As long as I'm bringing people in, you know.
Right.
So yeah, genius thought, my friend.
Yeah, or what you could do is it's one base, if I'm not mistaken, per party. But if you have multiple parties, and you could have a delegate or a group of people that are responsible for hosting multiple bases, one person per base.
I thought it's only one base per system, as it was back in the old days.
So if you built a base and you had your party, and somebody else built a base, they could have their party. You know, that way you could have multiple bases, but people could still upload screenshots of, you know, or whatever it is that we're planning on doing. I don't. Never mind, it's a bad idea.
I hate
Cross that
to.
bridge when we get there.
I hate to intersect one last time, but Cobra, I got one last question for you, and then I'm done talking. I'm done rambling. Where is
No, you're not
Tim?
rambling.
Where is Tim the Drunken Taco? Where has he been?
Okay.
Let me fix that for you.
Let's talk about Tim for a second. He was doing really well. He was sober. I was really proud of the dude. He was, you know, I see him on Facebook all the time. We're friends on Facebook, and I'm like, man, I want to invite this guy on the show and talk about how sober he is and congratulate him on everything he's doing. Right? And I told everybody I'm getting Tim. He's not the Drunken Taco anymore. This guy came on drunker than he ever was ever. And he was talking all kinds of crazy. I still love Tim, and he's always welcome on the show. But on that night, wow, he was.
I remember. I'm going to share a memory I have just about a year ago today. It was it was my first subcast that I joined, and I was having mic difficulties. I don't remember if you remember, but I remember Tim was so drunk that he went to the bathroom without muting his microphone during stream, and we all heard.
And then there's the fact of passing out midstream.
Yeah, he passed out on his own stream and sat there for hours as it was streaming. And I'm like, I said, oh, wait, he's still streaming? It's been hours since he started. And I clicked on his channel, and he was just sleeping in front of the camera.
I remember that.
If you're
what a
watching this,
character,
Tim, we
man.
are very sorry. We're just having fun, my friend. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I love Tim. He's always welcome on the show. But he was saying some things that night that plus I look like a moron. I'm like, this guy's sober. He's doing really good. He goes, hey, Crow Brian, I'm like, oh man, oh no. And then he was saying some weird stuff. So I had to kick him off that night, but we're still friends. But yeah, I love the guy. I love when he comes on drunk, but sometimes he can start saying some really crazy stuff.
I remember some of those nights, man. It's man, I already have a little bit of nostalgia for him. It's not even funny. I don't know why, but you know what I mean.
I met Drunken Taco the first time when we did the subcast for Atlas Rises, that launch night.
Oh yeah,
that was the first time I met Drunken Taco. I'll never forget him.
Well, I know. Yeah, that was the first time he came on the show. Yeah, and you know, I mean, someone had put together like a montage of all his drunkest moments with him on cam. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it.
Someone find that, please. I want to see that.
I don't know where it's at. But I watched it once and I'm like, that is absolutely the things that he was saying to this girl. Oh my gosh, dude!
I remember when he talked about what on acid it was.
Wow.
Oh, it's just hilarious how bad he can get sometimes. I hate to say that. You know what I mean? It's just.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good character. He's always welcome on the show. But
yeah.
I think we're gonna go ahead and end it for tonight, guys. I think we've dreamed enough about what is coming next. I don't know when it's coming next. I do have a little birdie that I can't say what the birdie is or who the birdie was or what the birdie is about, but something is happening with. I know I've said this before, but there could be something coming soon. And I don't want to put that out there. It's not fact. Don't take that as Cobra said. It's fact because I don't.
With a grain of salt.
Yeah, with a grain of salt. But there is, what do they call that when the bad guys are talking? You know, the echoing or whatever. There's echoing going on of something that could be happening pretty soon. I don't know, and I don't know if it's an update or an interview or what, but something could be stirring, and
don't spoil it.
Well, you know I can't keep my mouth shut. That's why they don't tell me anything anymore.
So, are we talking a month down the road?
I don't know when.
2 months.
Like I said, I don't know when, and.
Well, obviously,
I think I might have a minor bit of speculation here.
Their mouth shut. So, I mean, you're not the only one, Cobra.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to keeping secrets, I can keep a secret, but when it comes to
No Man's Sky.
I mean, anything that gets me hyped, I am shaking. I'm shaking.
I bet you Hello Games.
To control it.
Yeah, I bet you Hello Games wishes I could be as quiet as Hello Games.
But I do have a hunch, though. I have a hunch that on Saturday, March 16th, Hello Games are going to say something. Because that's when the SXSW Gaming Awards will be live on Twitch.
Well, and you got PAX East right around the corner, too.
Yeah, we got a lot of events coming up, and the rumor I heard had something to do with cameras. And the rumor that I heard said...
Shush!
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'll be quiet because if it turns out to not be true, which I think it is true, then. But if it's not, it's like I don't know. It's bad. All right. So just keep your eyes and ears open for something possibly soon about something. I don't know. Well, I'm just going to end it there because now I sound like a blubbering idiot.
Well, I mean, it's good information because it gives us something to, keep an eye out for on Facebook and on Twitter and, any of the forums, Reddit, we'll be looking.
Right. And you don't need a person like me to announce something because as soon as Sean Murray types one letter on Twitter, everyone goes apeshit. Everyone.
It's true. It's very true. It's way too true.
Yeah. All right. We're going to go ahead and end the show tonight. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming out to the chat and getting in the chat. And thank you guys for calling on the show. You are what make this show. You're the only reason why we do the live show. I mean, if you guys didn't come on, call into the show. Josiah, I am I see you're still there in the chat. You've been unmuted, buddy.
Yep. Hello.
How you doing?
Good.
But you guys are the reason why this show happens. You're the reason why I do it. If there's one person willing to come on, then I'm gonna have a live show. I'm glad I talked to Stubborn Ninja tonight. I was going to end the live shows on Fridays until there was excitement. But Stubborn Ninja, me and him had a conversation about how it's important. And you know what? If there's one person, if I go live and there's one person, period, watching, then it's worth still coming on. So,
dude, yeah, we'll always be here for you, Cobra.
I appreciate
so
that.
I'm holding that to you, buddy. And I'm just to say, if you're on the fence about not broadcasting and it's that bad, then I will come on and I will talk to work or not.
Literally, I don't know what it's going to take, but if I become a Patreon supporter for $25 a month, dude, I'll come on and host the show for you. I'm serious. $25 a month and host it for you.
No, I don't need you guys to pay to come on the show. You guys are always welcome to come on. For free, for nothing. Just come on and just talk to me.
I know that, but I'm just saying I'll come on and host the show for you if you feel like you can't do it one night.
It's last Monday's show that kind of bothered me because I'm going to tell you,
I like your stuff on Cyberpunk, man. I do like watching your feed on Cyberpunk.
Yeah, but that last Monday show was a wreck, dude. The amount of people that showed up, the amount of people that wanted to call in, I'm going to be honest with you right now, I was embarrassed. So it really showed through my personality, and that embarrassed me too. And it sounded like maybe I didn't want to be there, but that's not it. I wanted to be there, but it was a little bit embarrassing. And so I left. I put that on private. It was probably the worst live show I've ever put on. And so I don't know. We'll work through it. I'll work through it. But I do want to thank you guys for calling in. I appreciate that. I really do.
Guys?
Yes.
Monday, March 18th is the GDC conference, and I have confirmation from an article that Hello Games will be there.
Yeah, Sean's going to be the main speaker for the first one, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh.
So we got something to look forward to.
Yeah, the last couple times they've been on that, I've watched both their streams or both the videos.
And what we're going to need from the Cobra TV community is somebody to get that. All right? Because whenever the GDC has a conference and Sean talks, it's months before we get any footage. Because they upload it to the vault. It's like $600.
Let me say this. There's no way they're going to do if now that I think about it, if Sean's there's no way they're going to do anything at SWX, whatever, the Game Awards show. You know what I mean? That Game Awards show. Because if that's the case, then half the questions that's going to be at GDC, at least I would think, are going to be about that update or speculation. You know what I mean? I highly doubt that they're going to reveal anything. Well, so don't get your hopes up.
Well, they revealed about Hello Labs at a GDC.
Yeah.
That's true, but that wasn't directly connected to No Man's Sky, technically.
True.
Anyway.
That's true. I don't know. We'll see.
Also, Snow, I want to get in contact with you about all these things later on after the show, so just let me know how I can message you after show.
Yeah, send me a DM on Discord or PSN.
All right, sounds great.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and close it down for tonight. Love you guys so much, and thank you so much for being out here tonight. It means more to me than I'll ever be able to express with words. You guys all have a good night. Stay safe, and I'll see you guys next Friday or in an edited video. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
See you later, guys.
My food is nice.
I'm not done yet. Hold on. I'm almost done. All right. Bye, everybody.